Now, yesterday we talked about the fact that the friend and the brother, they need to be there for their friend or their brothers or the brothers in Christ in their time of adversity. They need to be there for them. They need to stand in the gap for them. You know, we as Christians, we need to continually show our love towards one another. We need to show our love towards our physical families, and we need to show our love towards our spiritual families, our church. But at the same time, we don't need to be fools about it. We don't need to be foolish in the things in which we do. That's where the very next verse, actually, in Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 18, it says, a man lacking in sense, he's a foolish man, right? He's lacking in sense. This is a foolish thing that he's about to do. He's lacking in sense. Again, Proverbs 17, verse 18, a man lacking in sense pledges and becomes a guarantor in the presence of his neighbor. And so what is he saying right here? In the presence of his neighbor, on behalf of his neighbor, what is he doing? He's becoming a guarantor. And so, in other words, the neighbor is going into a financial situation where he's borrowing money, right? He's borrowing money. And so as he's borrowing money, the neighbor comes along and says, hey, I want you to be a guarantor for me. In other words, I want you to be a co-signer for me. So in other words, if I can't pay this bill, if I can't pay this debt, if I can't pay this back, then it's going to fall on you, and then you are going to be responsible for paying this debt that you don't owe. You don't owe this debt. No, the neighbor owes the debt, but the neighbor is asking you to be a guarantor for this, or a co-signer is what we would call it today, to where it would come back on you and possibly have things stripped away from you. Maybe your land, or maybe your home, or maybe materialistic things, or your own source of providing for your family. And this is going to come back to you in a very negative way, not in a positive way at all. It's going to end up hurting you, and it's going to end up hurting your family. That's foolish. It's absolutely foolish. And so the Bible warns us against this. The Bible tells us in the verse right above that to be there. You know, that a brother is born for adversity, to be there for our brothers and our sisters in their time of adversity. And a friend loves at all times. But at the same time, we don't need to be fools. You know, I've talked to parents about this that have just poured so much money into their children. Their children are constantly getting in trouble. Their children are constantly getting thrown into jail. Their children are constantly having to be bailed out of whatever situations that they need to get bailed out of. Maybe it's jail, maybe it's other situations. They'll never keep a job. They're always backed up on their bills, and the parent is always coming and saying, you know, I'm the parent. I need to provide for my child. No, that child is now an adult. That child needs to learn how to provide for themselves. And as that child keeps digging that hole deeper and deeper and deeper, and you keep coming and pulling them out of that hole, that child's never going to learn. That child is never going to get to the point to say, what in the world am I doing? I have dug a hole so deep I can't get myself out of this. And if I do get out of this, I'm never going to do it again. Now, if you keep pulling them up out of that hole, they won't ever get out of it. They'll have no desire to get out of it because you keep pulling them out of it. And I know that's a difficult thing for a parent to do, and a difficult thing for a parent to watch their child go through, but at the same time, it is extraordinarily unwise to keep pulling that adult child out of that hole when it is putting you in the hole. It's hurting you. Maybe you still have children at home, it's hurting them. And it's also hurting the child because they're not learning anything from this. They're never going to stop because you keep bailing them out. And what you are doing is you are now making it possible for them to continue in their foolish lifestyle instead of them learning from their own mistakes and growing saying, I'm not going to do that again. So yes, we love. We love unconditionally. And yes, we give of ourselves. But at the same time, we're not going to be a fool. Jesus said to be harmless as a dove, but wise as a serpent.